claims everything was expected to be straight. Looks like it seems John Wayne.
My name is Paul James. I host News every morning.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences, my dear brothers and sisters of the United States of America. Welcome to the East-West Show. Jack Chow with the East-West Show with my dear friend, Mr. Chahinian. Mr. Chahinian is a political commentator. He is the former candidate for California Senate. As a political commentator, I rely on him a lot because he's not a partisan. Right now, especially when you're talking about, everybody takes the party lines off. It is very seldom you come across somebody who is not that partisan up. So, welcome to the show, my dear friend, Mr. Chahinian.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks for having me.
All right, good, good. Basically, lots of things are happening at the same time. However, if you want to sort it out, right, you are also having a hard time sorting it out. So what kind of stuff are happening? What are we seeing as of right now, right? So on one hand, we do know that somebody died unjustified. We do know there are protests. We do know that there had been some demonstrations. And then later on, things had been changed. And it goes on and on and on and on until now, we cannot tolerate even a monument, even a statue of somebody, well, stand on its own foot. So, to your knowledge, my dear friend, what is happening now?
Well, there's a lot of issue you mentioned now. I think we have to separate, each issue by itself, but all combined together. It's all about us. It's all about our future. It's all about our next generation. It's all about the people of this great country. And you mentioned a couple of key issues about partisan. There was a time in our history when 4th of July comes celebrate, every American feel that they are proud, they are part of this country, and they remember what our founding fathers, say about American future, and then we all get pride on that moment. Mm-hmm. I remember last year, 4th of July, I celebrated in the Rose Bowl great stadium with my family and friends. And when fireworks start, and we honor our veterans, we honor people, they serve our country, we salute them. Our heart was, full with pride and, about our nation. This year, the 4th of July was completely different, and for many things. And if I am going to summarize it in one word, what we're going on, these are confusing time for America.
Very confusing.
Very confusing, and confusion bring bad news, my friend. So now we have a country is divided. We have a Congress, Senate, and House of Representatives are divided. And people, regular people, sandwich between far left and far right, which those are the majority American people, like people like me and you. But unfortunately, the House is divided now. And it is very, very dangerous time now.
It is not only the division between the House and the Senate, and inside the House, inside the Senate, each.
True.
They follow their party lines.
That's
and
what I
they
said.
are divided individually.
Absolutely. That's what I meant. When I said, Senate and House, they're not divided. They're divided between them.
Yeah,
They're
yes,
between them.
yes.
And that division brought chaos in people, actually, because people listen to their leaders, what they say in a statement. And we have our founding father, they put the system, that the balanced system, legislative branch, executive branch, and Supreme Court. Now, legislative branch house is divided. White House, which is executive branch, it's appealing only for group of people. It could be 30%, 40, 50, 50, whatever. And we only left this Supreme Court, that's balance of power that we have. And I remember 2 months ago, there was a message from Supreme Court to the Congress. So put your act together. So we are going toward perfect storm. I don't want to scare people, because I always look beyond the problem and solve the problem. But this is now, we are going toward the perfect storm. With knowingly or without knowingly. But I know a lot of historians, and they're going to support what I'm saying now. They think today we are, Jack, we are exactly similar condition with pre-Civil War area. Exactly. Country is divided. People are divided. And if you go to Nashville, there's a small monument. It's divided, the line between Confederate and Union Army. That's this small statue. That's still there.
You mean Nashville, Tennessee?
Yes, that's still there. That monument's still there. There's a line between, that was the line between North and South. If you look at today's map, electoral map, you see in the middle of America is red all, right? And all coastal line are blue. You see the mentality now we have. Not just the map, the way we think. We all call, in the name of God, God bless America, we sing the same national anthem. But I think, you're not more American, I'm more American than you, you less American because you believe certain way or I believe certain way. That's dangerous ideology. And this can push us toward perfect storm. And I see that people are turning the heat up. They have some agenda. I think we the people, we have to turn the heat down, not up. Otherwise, this oven is going to go so hot and we're going to burn all. In general, I'm not saying, in political issues, we're not going to burn physically. So we are dangerous line. And you see that in George Floyd when he been killed. It was part of that dynamic that created last 10 years, 20 years, whatever. That's hate, that racism, that division that we have. That's all coming out now. It was not about George Floyd, Jack. It was not about him. This was piled up for years, and from generation.
Yes.
So it came to
it's accumulated over the decades.
And George Floyd murder sparked all this. And this issue has three sides: good, bad, and ugly. Good side is that we are seriously looking to this issue now, which we have done since our independence. We've done so many amendments in our constitution, in the way we think, the way we act, from abandoning slavery, for all this, amendment we have, we are going step by step toward completely releasing ourselves from this racism, but we still have that. Every 50 years, every 25 years, another issue. That George Floyd came now, spark another wave of tension, I have to say. That good side that we're addressing this, we are trying to adjust based on today. The bad side is that the mobs and people benefit, are abusing this opportunity, literally abusing, thinking what they have agenda for.
Abusing and using.
Abusing. And that's bad. The ugly side is we are destroying our history now. And a lot of revolution happened during history.
All right. I believe the picture is bad enough, right?
Okay.
But the question remains as what has caused it? Who has drawn the picture? All right. Let's take a moment out. We come back. We'll continue to find out the hand or the force or the power behind it. What had caused it? Right? Stay with us, please.
Senator Brown stands for that. We have to continue to work on it now.
My name is Paul James. I host English News every morning.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, my brothers, sisters, my dear fellow citizens. Welcome back to the show. I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Mr. Chris Chahinian, former candidate for California Senate, 39th District, a person with a vision, a person of a non-partisan line. I respect him a lot. That's why I sit here with him, ready. I'm all ears to listen to his analysis about what has happened, what is happening, what shall happen as a picture, and above all, we would like to find out what had caused what had happened, right? So back to the show. Welcome again to come join me. So, what exactly is the thing that caused the whole thing to happen?
Well, that's a general question, but I have to say, you're asking me what caused, French Revolution, what caused, the Cultural Revolution in China.
In China,
Yeah,
yes.
for example. And if you looked at, for example, China Cultural Revolution, it sounds good, right? Very good. But country was divided back then, same thing. There was elite group, if I'm right, you should correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I know China Revolution
Yes.
better than anybody else.
Yes, that's what I'm just going to give them and probably you add on it. So, but Mao Zedong came, I have to say, maybe some people they disagree, he was the reason that, millions of people died, lost their hope in the name of Cultural Revolution.
Yes.
And they tried to wipe the history of 5,000 years of China. It's good? Do you think that was good? It happened in China?
Never good.
Never good. And look what happened.
It almost finished China.
Finished China. And now, because we have this different ideology, I said earlier, we have far left, far right, and you're coming to the point that, we think there's a cultural revolution. Let's destroy everything we have now. Everything our history comes, Oh, this guy was, has, slave. The other guy was married twice. The other guy was, going to church 5 times a week. So, and this division, this is the ideology that we have. And who's benefiting from this? Obviously, people in power. Obviously. Because the message is coming from them. Divisive message coming from them. Me and my neighbors, we talk. I have neighbors. We're all Americans. We talk. We have no issue. We don't fight. But if the message comes from a city of mayor, for example, your neighbor is bad, is trying to get your property, create tension. Simple example. That's what's happening coming from Washington, D.C. Divisive messages from both sides. It's not helping our country. And we're trying to work with the match, and it's coming, to the point that
it is very significant to analyze the nature of French Revolution, of a cultural revolution in China, and also what's happening now. It is a very, very significant.
Well,
however, go ahead.
So look at the French Revolution, what they have done.
Yeah.
They destroyed their own people, what they I mean, in the name of revolution, right? Mm-hmm. But American Revolution was different for us, if you look at it, Yes, we gave a lot of casualty, but, it was not robbing people. It was not burning our country like a Russian did when Napoleon was trying to get to Moscow. You know what Russian did? They burned 3/4 of the Moscow. They burned it. Their own houses, their own places they burned. Why? Because of they don't want Napoleon to get to their things. Now that mentality was behind it. So now we are in a position that I'm going to burn you, Jack, because you don't believe the way I believe. And you, vice versa, how dare you touch my AR-15? And the other side, how dare you carry AR-15? And then, where is this coming from? It's not from neighbor to neighbor. It's coming from the head.
Exactly. But what confuses me is that in the analysis of what had happened in China as the Cultural Revolution and what is happening here that produced the fear to us of Cultural Revolution, I believe there is something in between that makes a huge difference. The difference was that back then in China there was a Mao Zedong.
And his ally.
Yeah, and his allies, his supporters, who worried their rights over the chairman of China, Liu Shaoqi.
Yes.
So he had to motivate people to smash everything, including Liu Shaoqi, including authority, to consolidate his power.
And he used who? The young people.
Yeah, exactly. The Red Guard was the young people. Red Guard was the one that Mao Zedong used to destroy the whole country.
Because he played with their emotions.
As a result, they overdid it. About 37 million people died of that movement, of that revolution. Whole China was almost set on fire. Everything was destroyed, right? Including temples, universities, schools, whatsoever. Anything stand on the global earth, on that part, right, was torn down totally, all right? Now, what happens here, we do not see a Mao Zedong. We do not see one guy or one group who try to consolidate his power. Instead, what we see is that people on the left, people on the right. But who made the people on the left and who made the people on the right that are pointing fingers at each other, that are kind of like whipping each other, that are exercising their fists at each other? so on and so forth. That is the part that confuses me. Who is the guy Mao Zedong here? If there is no Mao Zedong, then who is functioning?
Well, we have two sources of messages coming. Like in the news, I'm going to say, I'll give you an example. We have CNN, we have Fox News. If you watch only CNN, if I watch only Fox News, today we should fight. You know why? Because they have agenda. They taking one path, destroying everything right says, and Fox News has, destroying everything the other side says. So, and that's where they're feeding. The feeding comes from elected officials, from Congress, Senate, House of Representatives. They are feeding the news. They are the one creating this chaos, not people. Not people. People are innocent. Like, Mao Zedong, he used that young people. Young people, they don't know about, Cultural Revolution. They don't know about,
Exactly.
They don't know what's going on. All they know, you carry your gun, take your AR-15. They're going to take your AR-15.
It's Mao Zedong himself who made the call, overthrow everything old. Establish everything new. That's his call.
Yeah.
All right. Now what we see, you mentioned CNN, right? Suppose if CNN is supposed to be on the left, represent the left though, but the looters and the protesters destroyed CNN almost. That's another confusing
Looters,
part.
they don't have identity, by the way.
Yeah.
A thief, they don't have identity. They don't have party line. They don't have a moral line. That's what I said.
Mess.
That's what I said. This George Floyd issue has a good, bad, and ugly side. I said from the bad side, those looters there, bad apples. They are, they're not even helping the cause of African Americans, civil rights movement. They don't care, those people. Even though if you look at them, they look African Americans. Those people, they don't have value. But even though they're minority, they did big damage. But looting the shops are different category, Jack.
That's criminal.
And let me tell I know. And taking the monument, it's another issue.
All right, another kind of criminality.
Yes. That's one is kids, crazy. They don't know better. They do that. But taking monument down, that people, they know what they're doing. So that's what more dangerous.
Tell you the truth, brother. What worries me most is exactly the part of taking the monument down.
Okay, that debatable.
That's exactly what happened in China.
Yes.
We copied from them.
True. I think as much as I don't like certain people, they had slave when they were 200, 300 years ago. But they are part of our history.
What can you do with it?
And what I believe, instead of taking them down, okay, let's say if my friend from African American community watching.
All right, my friend. It looks like we have to stretch it out. All right.
Okay.
Let's take another moment now. We come back to continue. There is a lot more to talk about. Stay with us, please.
Continue to work on it now.
My name is Paul James. I host this news every morning.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, my dear brothers and sisters, and I believe that we are all the concerned Americans. We're so concerned because we're seeing a lot happening around us. We're so concerned that what's happening around us that we are seeing are confusing us. It gets more and more and more confusing. With my friend Chris Chahinian, former candidate for California Senate, we're getting to the point to find out what exactly behind it that caused to happen. And in seeing what's happening, what do we see? You mentioned about looting a store is criminality, of course, right? It calls for nothing but the law enforcement. It must be outlawed. Should martial law be necessary? Activate it, right? Should shooting be necessary? Activate it, right? So now, what we are seeing on the contrary is another form of violence, or I call it criminality, is that we are overturning history. You mentioned the monuments, right? So back to you.
Basically, looters, and I have to mention here, I talked to our LA County Sheriff a couple of weeks ago. I had a small interview with him. I asked him the question. He said he called National Guard the first day. He knew that, this will happen. And this is based on his information. Some of the city, they didn't call for help. Some of the cities. And those are the cities, Santa Monica, they got destroyed. And he said, we were ready from day one. We're ready to protect. But based on our jurisdiction, I'll call National Guard right away to protect. But some city, they didn't ask for help, and we cannot go when they don't ask. That's what the disaster happened. They regret that. And he said, the Beverly Hills, they did the right thing. When they saw the crowd was coming toward them, they called us, and we were there. We stopped them right in the border between West Hollywood and Rodeo Drive. So, go ahead if you have a question.
Thank God you mentioned cities, right? But to me, the word cities almost seems to be a joke.
It is.
Why?
For some city. Yep.
Why? Because the cities are losing authorities. The cities are losing control. On the contrary, some of the cities took a lead in the so-called movement. I give you an example. In the city of Charleston of North Carolina, in that very city, it was a resolution to be voted to turn down one of the Confederate monument for one of the generals, right? You know how they concluded with the resolution, with the vote? There were 13 members on the council. Give you the wild goose guess. You will not create something like that funny. It's 13 versus 0. Unanimously, the city voted to turn it down. So now that you mentioned cities are not functioning if they are not operating from the 180 degrees opposite end.
Jack, city officials are politicians. Nasty sometimes.
Nasty, yes.
They saw an opportunity to protect their seats for election because always they think, elected officials, that's the way their mentality is. Always next election, if I do this, I lose my seat. If I do this, I win my seat. So not based on, good judgment, not based on what the best for our country they do. Some of the cities. And that's what happened there.
They follow the trend.
Yes. See, that's what they're not leaders.
Oh, that reminds me of somebody, Mr. Bruce Whitaker, council member of city of Fullerton. 2015, there was an incident. A white guy named Kelly Thomas, a known lunatic, a known homeless guy, was beaten to death by 6 police officers. Right? The city voted a resolution to get away with it, to cover with it. Right? Mr. Bruce Whitaker was the only one who was so brave to stand alone. Versus the other 4, he voted a no. For that, I gave him 2 thumbs up. At the time of voting, he received threatening calls saying that if you vote no, you're going to lose the election. He said, okay, if I'm going to lose, let me lose.
That's the leader. That's leader, not politician. Leader's quality is totally different. And
All
we
right.
don't have so many leaders.
Bruce Whitaker of
Yeah.
Fullerton. Remember that name? A heroic guy. Now we're talking about Charleston, 13 versus 0, man. What do you want to see?
That's why we called our elected officials our politicians, not leaders, right? Leader is a different character. Leader, one person stand alone. Like I was reading a Napoleon book. One of the battles Napoleon was losing. Sorry if some people they don't like Napoleon. He is, artillery, officer. He went himself, emperor, goes down, start, putting, power to, and start shooting so he can turn the battlefield. That's leadership. That's leadership.
Yes.
So now we don't have those people, Jack, and we see people, they come during election time, they know how to speak, they know how to smile, but they don't know how to act.
I really have to point out that you did mention a very important point. The point you mentioned being that they are politicians, not leaders. There is a big difference, huge difference between a leader and a politician, right?
Yeah, and that's
And especially professional politician. In China, there is one woman they call the professional hand raiser. I agree. Hand raiser. They call her professional hand raiser. So here we're talking about the professional politician. They are no leaders. We need leaders.
We need leaders.
Am I right?
Unfortunately, leaders born, you don't train them to be leaders. And these people are politicians, are trained to be politicians. And coming to the monument issue, this is what I think. Instead of destroying those monuments, this is my idea. Because trying to erase the history, to rewrite history. We want those monuments to stay there. We can remember. But this is what my suggestion to people, they get offended. Put another monument next to it, like, for next to Jackson, put the monument of, Frederick Douglass. Put a statue of, Martin Luther King. Then that becomes a more powerful message. Look, from here, we came to here.
That's why Donald Trump, our president, is making a proposal of establishing a national park of heroes. Now they have formed altogether a committee who is given the commission for 6 months period to start with the project. They are now looking at the location called National Park of for Heroes whatsoever. As for the name, they will do it themselves, but by nature, it is National Park of Heroes.
Maybe that's good, but Jack, I'm a Democrat. I'm always, balanced. I think Donald Trump, our president of the United States, he's the head of the pyramid. I think he has to change his language when addressing the people, period. He cannot address for one group of people. He cannot just, cheer for one group of people. He has to think. He's like a father. I cannot just lift one of my child up and put the other one down. I think he has to play that role, which is not doing at this point.
That we have to disagree a little bit because what exactly Donald Trump is doing is call for people to love our history, to cherish our history, all right? For example, nobody is perfect, including George Washington.
I understand.
Right? Yeah. Including Thomas Jefferson. Anybody, everybody. Nobody is perfect. However, as a historical monument, as a statue, it's a symbol already. He is no longer a human. He is a symbol of our nation already.
I have no problem with that. I'm not disagreeing with it. I think I said earlier we have to keep and then we have to add more people. Frederick Douglass. People that we think they're part of history. Also, we can.
I'll give you another example. Probably will says more. It will say more. All right, let's take a moment out. We come back to continue.
Senator, everything expected to continue to work on
My name is Paul James. I host English News every morning.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. I love you. I rely on you, and it is you together with me. We go through the pandemic. We're not out yet. That's why you can see still we're wearing face masks. And by the way, I respect my guests. When they do, I do. When they don't, I don't. Right. So I want to make sure that you do take a good protection of yourself. Today with me is my good friend, Mr. Chahinian. He is the former candidate of California Senate, and he's the political commentator. However, he claimed to be Democrat, but he does not belong to the extreme Democrat. I call him the reasonable Democrat or whatsoever. In some of the areas or on some of the issues, he and I even have same ground, common ground. Okay, now, we're talking about over the country, everywhere, there goes a movement of turning down, of toppling statues, monuments, all right, and historical landmarks, and so on and so forth. But if they say General Lee was a commander of the Confederation, though, what's wrong with the whipping post? Whipping post, you know, a post of stone, about 8 feet or 10 feet long, buried in the ground, exposing with a part coming out, used to tie the criminals to be punished by whipping. Back then in Richmond, Virginia, the law was that if you commit a crime, to be whipped on the post in the public is one of the punishment. It was there until 1959 of last century. Since 1956, I was wrong. Since 1956, when that law was abolished, it was there as as a monument. Mm-hmm. It's called whipping post, right? To tell kids there had been law like such. We had been cruel to criminals, right? Like that. Okay, now, that city voted 100% unanimous to pull out that pole to diminish it. And on the site, there was a guy who took his 9-year-old granddaughter on the site to see. What he says was exactly the contrary what he sees. All right? And he says, I want to use today as a lesson to my granddaughter. What lesson? After the post, after removal, there is no lesson at all.
I think if that's what this is, the ugly side of, I said that,
yeah.
This is the ugly side. And we can stop this, not by bringing federal troops, not by bringing the army, I think. Number one, this is what we need now. That I know we're coming to the end. We have to ease this tension. We have to turn the heat down. That's what I said earlier on my introduction. Because more heat is going to create more problem. No one is acting like normal. No one is acting as a leader in our country now. That everybody's doing whatever they want. I think there's a time for everything. If we're going to take any monument down, if I'm going to take any monument down, let's do it by educating our people. If we feel one day our country, all together, we're going to do something.
Exactly,
let's
education.
change it.
Like the guy with his granddaughter say, let the post stand there to tell the future generation that we had been once cruel, even with our laws, like that.
Look, we have. I visited a couple of years ago the pyramid of Egyptian pyramid, pyramid of Egypt. Those are the cruel, pharaohs. They just like they were not the nicest people. But the people of Egypt now, 100 million, they protect that. The pharaoh is gone. The kingdom is gone for 1,000 years. But they're protecting that monument because that's its reflection of who they are, where were before, where they are now.
Yeah.
And then I know in a history when Taliban came to power, they tried to destroy every monument that was anti their belief. When ISIS came, they did the same thing. They went to Syria, the most archaeological site, Palmyra. They destroyed Palmyra, 5,000-year history.
Oh, God.
So that mentality is mob mentality. That mentality is not educated people mentality. We don't want that in the United States. We want, if you're going to put monument, like we're going to put it because we believe in that. If we're going to take something, we have to give it, it has to be national.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like in the Cultural Revolution in China, all Confucius temples were torn down into ashes. I would say I'm not lying. They torn off into pieces, into ashes. Every Buddhist temples, were torn down into debris. All right, everything that has a symbol of anything old, of the ancient time, ancient dynasty. So they torn down everything.
We don't want that in America.
Yeah.
We don't want that in America. We don't have Mao Zedong here. We don't have Stalin.
And it's happening here.
We don't have Stalin here. I think we have to cool it down. For our politicians, left or right, for Democrats, stop, focusing all your attention, attacking our president. Focus on people. You have division. Fight it in the Congress and Republican. Stop fueling,
What if we the people, call the Congress to let them do calls of a non-partisan calls of landmark protection, of calling people work together to overcome the pandemic. Instead of criticizing each other, we express trust.
I think that trust is gone now because some people, they believe, America only belongs to them. They think America is only for one group of faith or one group of skin color. Some people believe that, one beloved ideology is for America. So, and that's the problem is America is for all of us, every culture, every skin, it doesn't matter. So where are you coming from? It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what you ideal. America is for all of us. That's Statue of Liberty you have behind you. It's for all of us, not for one group, not for one party. But this rhetoric that's happening coming from an elected official. It has to stop now. Otherwise, we are heading to perfect storm. We're going to regret later. We're going to look at the history. Wow, we thought the Civil War is going to be the last Civil War. Now we get into that direction.
We have vivid examples, right, for you. If you want to see what a cultural revolution like, you go to China, you check of the libraries in commemoration of the Cultural Revolution.
You'll learn if you see the picture that
learn it.
Professor burned, alive.
Even the government, Chinese government, forbid the talk of the Cultural Revolution because it was too ugly to talk.
True. And we don't want to go to that direction, Jack. When we say, I think
now we have a few minutes. I would like you to give us some guidelines about what we regular people can do to help with the situation, please.
Number one, turn down your CNN, turn down Fox News. Don't watch those two channels, regardless how much you like John Hannity or Anderson Cooper. They are feeding us hate. Number two, I want you to know that your neighbor, your friend, your cousin, because of they have different belief, they're not your enemy. They have the same love of America. Don't think they don't love America. Because you have more, towards certain ideology. Don't think the other side is everything they're doing is conspiracy. Don't think they're going to destroy our country. They're all Americans. That ideology is destroying us. It's coming to the point that in one house, we are becoming divided. We have to turn the heat down. I've seen conversation between family members, heated conversation, because they think, Anderson Cooper is right, John Hannity is right.
And also keep in mind that all life matter.
All life matter, Jack. Okay, I have to say that, when people say Black Lives Matter, they think only talking about they care about Black Lives Matter. I have to tell you that. There is a history of 400 years that organization came. They not saying, Jack, this is my belief. They're not saying, I don't care about you. They're not saying they don't care about Armenians. They have a message to send. That's what they call it, Black Lives Matter. Yes, all life matter, but Black Lives Matter movement, it's not about your life, it's not important. The other guy, no. It's a movement that they created because they look 400 years back. They see the chain of hurt.
All right, my friend, we're a little over time.
Okay.
And we probably should take time to do another show talking about which life matters, which life don't matter. But to me, I would stick to the connotation that all lives matter, right? Okay, my dear friends, thank you for watching, and to my brother Chahinian, thank you for coming share your valuable opinions, and thank you very much for your statement. So we'll see you next time. Bye now.